DreAllDay.com.
Now tuned in to the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day, to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there even when the success you've expected to achieve is yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative, the go-getter energy that moves you to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. We put all this together in one bundle, one package, one mindset, one method, one philosophy, one show, one master class. Oh yeah, there's also a book. If you ain't got it, I'll tell you where to go get it. It is called Work on Your Game. All of those things. The book is at workonyourgamebook.com. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day. Welcome to the show. Today's topic is how to disagree respectfully. What a novel damn idea. How to disagree respectfully. Now these days on the internet, I could say this anytime over the last 4 years, I could give this exact opening. These days on the internet, there are a lot of people with opinions. There's a lot of racial unrest. Now we got a global pandemic. Remember when the global pandemic was the biggest problem that we had going on? Those are good old days. Now we got a lot of racial unrest. We have a presidential election coming up that I think is going to be the most tense and the most I think this is going to be the most fiery as far as the conversations that happen around the election, regardless of who wins. I can see, regardless of who wins, excuse me, the conversations and the tensions and the energy around the outcome of this year's presidential election, if the election becomes the two candidates that we have as of the summer of 2020, if those are the two candidates that end up with, that's what we're voting for in November, oh man, it's going to be something. And there's a lot of things that we don't know a lot about. There's a whole lot going on. I think I can say that, and everyone would agree, no matter where you're from, what's going on in your life. And with so much going on, everybody has an opinion. I got plenty of opinions. I've done whole episodes encouraging you to share opinions when you have them. Not sharing them with me, but just sharing them, period, if and when you have opinions. Opinions are a good portion of your brand becoming what your brand is you sharing your opinion. So use your opinion. I told you just not too long ago, episode 1514, opinions are entertaining, so use yours. I told you in 1407 that subjective opinions matter more than facts these days. I told you in masterclass number 1305, all opinions are not created equally. It seems like every 100 episodes I'm telling you something about opinions. And in masterclass number 990, how to raise your personal opinion, 971 about public opinion, 734 keeping your opinions flexible, masterclass 703, excuse me, when I first talked about this, if you want to have authority, you must have an opinion. Now, if you don't have an opinion, then you have no authority. Your authority is not the fact that you've memorized a certain amount of information, because Google has done that better and will do it better than any human being ever could. But having an opinion on information, that's what gives you a brand. That's what gives you authority. So since so many people have opinions these days, there's all this racial unrest. We got these global pandemics. We got an election coming up this year. So much going on. Depending on how much time you spend on social media, specifically sites like Facebook or Twitter, those are the two biggest culprits, I would say, when it comes to hearing other people's opinions and just seeing the kind of stuff that people will say to and about each other. When it comes to their opinions, it can get very nasty. I mean, nastier than anything you see in a high school or a middle school lunchroom. You've seen plenty of disagreement, right? Maybe, if you happen to be the active type, maybe you've been involved in some of this disagreement yourself. I know that I have. Today, what we're going to talk about is how you can disagree with someone while, here's a novel thing, while maintaining civility. Did you know that this was possible? You could disagree with a person, but still be civil, and you can still be copacetic, and you can still be positive with that person, and you can still maintain a quality, even relationship with an individual, even though you are disagreeing with them. Did you know that this was possible? I know that you may not have been taught this at home. I know that your social media conditioning may have you believing that if you disagree with someone, that you must immediately trash them and destroy them and try to get a win on them through your social media platform. But I want to let you know there is another way to do it. And you may be interested in doing it this way. And when I get through these points in today's class, you will understand maybe why you might want to try it this way instead of doing it the way you've been doing it, or the way that maybe you have been conditioned to do it by the quote role models, close quote, you've been looking at on social media. Wouldn't it be a novel concept that you could disagree with someone, do it respectfully, you save face, they save face, y'all can end the conversation even still disagreeing, but still not have any negative feelings towards each other? All right, how would that feel? How would that change your life? Let's get into the topic. Point number one. Today's topic, once again, is how to disagree respectfully. Point number one, the most important thing you must do whenever you're disagreeing with another person, you can violate this rule at your own peril. If you violate this rule, you can pretty much forget about things going any way that you want them to go when it comes to your disagreement. The only thing you will succeed in is getting your point across that you disagree, but you will not convince them. You will not get that person to really listen to you. That person will not feel good about the conversation, and you will not cause them to change their mind or change their actions in any way, shape, or form if you violate the very first rule of disagreeing respectfully. It is this: do not put the other person on the defensive. Do not put the other person on the defensive. Let me ask you a question. When you put another person on the defensive, what does that person do? This is not a trick question. They play defense. You put somebody on the defensive, they play defense. All right, what will somebody do when they're on the defensive and when they're playing defense? They will attack you. If they feel like you're attacking them, they'll attack you back to turn the tables on you, to get revenge. They may close up and just stonewall you and just stop talking to you and just stop answering your questions and not want to be in the conversation anymore. Maybe they will stop sharing. Maybe they were sharing certain things with you, but as soon as you put them on the defensive, they realize what you were doing and they say, okay, well, anything that I say or maybe something else that I say is going to cause this person to attack me again. So you know what? I'm just not going to say anything to this individual, and they're going to close up and stop sharing with you while they were open to sharing with you a few minutes ago before you put them on the defensive. They will be less open to your influence, which is the main goal of having a conversation. Maybe sometimes the purpose of conversation is to learn. Other times you may want to influence another person. If you put a person on the defensive, they are no longer open to your influence because they're no longer really listening to you. They may be hearing you, but they are no longer listening to you because you put them on the defensive. And none of these is the outcome that you be after. I don't think any person you're talking to, you want them to attack you, turn the tables on you, want to get revenge on you, close up, stop sharing, and be less open to your influence. I don't think anyone listening to me right now has ever been in a conversation where that was the goal. All right, any of you have been in a conversation where your outcome was, I want people to get defensive, not share with me, be not open to my influence, close up, and attack me? I don't think anybody's ever had that goal. So what you need to stop doing, if you've been having that happen in your life, you've been having that happen in the conversations you're having with other people, what you need to do is stop putting people on the defensive. Now, your question may be, well, what am I doing that is putting people on the defensive? I have answers to that question. Accusations put people on the defensive. When you tell someone that they did something and it is framed in such a way that could be taken as negative, you are accusing that person. And you need to be very careful with accusations. You don't accuse someone of something unless you have proof that you can back up your accusation with. If you do not have proof of something, do not accuse another person. If your only proof of something is what you think another person is thinking or what you think another person's beliefs are, that is not enough proof, because you can't prove what another person is thinking. You can't prove another person's beliefs unless they state them themselves. So if you are filling in the gaps of what someone else hasn't said with what you think they're thinking or what you think they believe, you are sliding down a slippery slope and you're going to crash at the end. It's kind of like one of those fail videos that you might see on Snapchat or some TikTok or something like that. You don't want to do that. Accusations do not work. Do not accuse another person of anything unless you are 100% sure and you can prove it. Attacking another person. If another person feels like they're being attacked, that means you're attacking them. Let me say that again. If another person feels like they're being attacked, you are attacking them. When you attack another person's stance, you attack another person's position, you attack another person's opinion. When you tell someone that they're wrong, they will be defensive. Most people don't say things hoping to be wrong. Maybe scientists. Scientists sometimes hope to be wrong. And during the scientific method, they will present something as a hypothesis that maybe they think will be wrong, but they have to prove it. The rest of us that are not scientists, we don't want to be told that we're wrong. Even if we are wrong, we don't want to be told that we're wrong. We would rather discover that we are wrong than be told that we're wrong. You understand that there's a difference between the two? If I discover that I'm wrong, that's because I got access to some information that showed me that the idea or belief that I had before is not actually true, and I decide to change it. But if you tell me that I'm wrong, and then I may feel like you are attacking me. I may feel like you're accusing me. I may feel like you are looking down on me or talking down to me. All these things cause me to close up, clam up, become defensive, maybe attack you back in retribution. you don't want any of these things. Again, when you're not respecting someone's right to feel how they feel, this will put them on the defensive. This will make them attack you back. This will make them stop talking to you. This will make them avoid any future conversations on the same subject with you, or any future conversations, period, with you, when you do not respect another person's right to feel how they feel. I want to talk a little bit about this specific point right here. Understand that in life we have opinions and we have facts, right? Now, a fact is something black and white that can be proven on paper. There's nothing really to argue about once everyone can see a fact. An opinion is a belief or a point of view that someone has that is not necessarily based on facts or knowledge. Everyone is entitled to as many opinions as they wish to have on whatever subjects they wish to have them on. If someone has an opinion with which you disagree, it's okay to disagree. We're going to get into how you actually do that. That's what today's topic is anyway. But first we got to get rid of the old stuff before we can bring the new stuff in. We got to cut the cancer off first before we can put the good stuff in, right? So we got to get rid of your bad habits when it comes to disagreeing with other people. When someone has an opinion, there's a point of view, a perspective, a way of feeling about something that you disagree with, understand something. Even if you decide to respond to it, even if you decide to let them know that you do not agree with it, even if you don't like the fact that they feel how they feel, understand and respect the fact that they have the right to feel however they want to feel. If a person feels that something that you are staunchly against is a good thing, you're there for it and you're staunchly against it, understand that they have just as much the right to feel how they feel as you have the right to feel how you feel. Again, if we're talking opinions. Now, if we're talking facts, then it's different. All right, everyone is entitled to their own opinions. No one's entitled to their own facts. But when we're talking opinions, perspectives, point of views, never ever attack another person or in any way show that you do not respect the fact that someone else has an opinion that differs from yours. Now, understand that what I'm telling you right here, this is not the training that you will get. This is not the conditioning that you will get from looking through social media, looking through Twitter, looking through politicos going back and forth with each other, or even a lot of people with opinions on different sides of the political divide or whatever subject happens to be going on. In summer of 2020s, a lot of stuff, people are talking about race. And there are a lot of people who have abstained from the conversation because they know anything they say can and will be used against them. And they are absolutely right, and they're smart to do that. And there's some people who are jumping all into the fray with both feet. But you have to be very careful respecting another person's right to feel how they feel, even if you strongly disagree. If you have any plans on building a relationship or maintaining any level of rapport with that person. Now, if you don't care, you're just trying to burn the bridge with that person because you don't give a damn about them or how they feel or anything, then you can go ahead and discard everything that I just said. But if you plan on building a rapport with a person and maintaining a relationship and being able to ever call on that person ever again and have a positive conversation, always respect another person's right to feel how they feel. Doesn't mean you can't question it. Doesn't mean you can't say something about it, but you have to respect it. If people feel like you don't respect their opinion, then why would they share anything with you? Trick question. They wouldn't. Point number 2. Today's topic is how to disagree respectfully. Point number 2. Once you note that someone has said something that you disagree with, all right, you won't even have to think hard about this one. When someone says something you disagree with, your radar immediately goes up, right? Your sensors immediately go off. Is this true or is this not true? Of course it's true. So what you need to do when this happens is start asking more questions than you make assumptions. I'm going to repeat that. When you disagree with another person, ask more questions than you make assumptions. When someone offers a perspective that you either do not understand or with which you do not agree, do not assume that you know why they feel the way they feel, and do not assume what their other stances or positions or ideas, quote, must be, close quote, due to their original stance. You understand? So if someone tells you that they think A, do not assume that just because they think A, that they must also think B, C, D, E, and F. All right, this is what is known as, first of all, it's assumptive thinking. Second of all, it's ignorance. And a lot of people practice this in their everyday lives. And on social media, you see this all the time. Oh, well, you believe this, then you must also believe this, this, and this. I remember in 2016, when the presidential election was coming up, it was about a month or two before the election, and people had stopped laughing over the fact that Trump was running for president. And first people thought it was a joke. They said, no way this guy's gonna win. He's a clown. He's a reality TV star. guy. He's going to get a little bit of attention from this, then he's going to go away. He's going to write a book, and we'll forget about him. And then when it got to about a month or two before the election, people realized, like, wait a minute, this motherfucker might actually win. And when that happened, I remember going on Facebook one day. This is about, again, the election's in November. This is around September, October 2016. And I saw a bunch of people making the same post on Facebook. It was the exact same verbiage. I mean, somebody must have copied and pasted. It was the exact same words. And people said, look, I'm not mad at anybody. I'm paraphrasing. I'm not mad at anybody, but if you plan on voting for Donald Trump for president, then please unfriend me or unfollow me, because I cannot support somebody I cannot be friends with someone who would even think about supporting someone who was all about racism and division. And it was a whole bunch of things that people were saying about, people were attributing to Donald Trump. And thusly, anyone who was even thinking about voting for Trump, they were basically throwing those attributes on those individuals, and they were making these out loud statements on Facebook. If you're going to vote for Trump, then unfriend me, because that means you also support this, and they were extrapolating all these other things that it must mean about you because you had decided to vote for Donald Trump in the presidential election. I remember seeing so many people post it, and I thought to myself, well, first of all, if somebody decides to vote for him, you might decide to vote for a person just for one reason. There may only be one issue that caused you to vote for this person, or one issue that caused you to not vote for the other person. And in the presidential election, for the most part, it comes down to two people. So if you really don't like one person, you might vote for the other person just because you don't want the person that you don't like to win, not because you're supporting anything of the other guy. And it may only be one or two elements of the guy you vote for that you actually choose to vote for. But here's the thing, we don't know. You don't know why somebody voted for whoever they voted for, whether it's a person that you like, a person that you don't like, or a person that you don't even know they exist. You don't even know you don't even know their name, but somebody voted for them. You don't know why they voted for them unless they tell you, and whatever they tell you, you're gonna have to respect that. They say I voted for Trump because I just didn't like Hillary. You gotta respect that. Doesn't mean they support A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, all the negative things that you could put on Trump. And again, I'm talking to the Facebook people that I saw posting this back in 2016. Who knows if people are going to post this year? Because I guarantee you this is going to happen again. Not that he's going to win, but actually he probably is going to win. But as far as people making their statements as to if you support Trump, you're also supporting this, this, and this, I can see it now. It's going to happen. So remember that I said this. But the whole point is this: do not make assumptive jumps. That just because somebody thinks one way, or they express one opinion, or they take one action, or they look a certain way, or they're wearing a certain hat, or you've seen them in a certain place, or they have a certain job, that automatically means a bunch of other things about that person that you have not proven, you do not know, and they have never told you. These are assumptions, and again, assumptions like this are signs of ignorance. If you want to build rapport with another person, never do this. Instead, here's what you should do. Ask questions. So if a person says, for example, I voted for this candidate, and you cannot believe that anyone in their right mind would ever vote for that candidate, instead of saying, I can't believe that anyone ever in their right mind would vote for that candidate, which is the first thing that you're thinking, and a lot of people do immediately say, instead of doing that, let me give you a better idea. Instead of also making cognitive jumps, okay, you voted for him, so that means you're a racist. That means you're also this, I can't even think of all the other things, but y'all know what they are. Y'all be on social media. Whatever those other things are, do not do that either. Here's what you do instead. Take a deep breath if you need to, and then ask questions. Don't ask accusatory questions that sound like you are interrogating the person, or you are cross-examining them on a trial. Ask questions using the words how and why, but in a way that you are open to learning and understanding, not in a way that you're trying to get a gotcha moment on another person because you disagree with them. How did you come to this way of thinking? How did you form this conclusion? Why do you think this and this and this? Why do you have that opinion? Here's the great thing about questions. When a person is sharing opinions, they'll tell you everything they think. See, the thing about opinions is everybody has them. Everybody has a whole lot of them, including you. Right? You got a lot of opinions, don't you? I know you do. And here's the thing. Every person will love to tell you all about their opinions. As soon as they come across somebody who's willing to ask questions and listen, they will. So when you come across someone who has an opinion or a stance or a belief that differs from yours, instead of attacking them, instead of making assumptive jumps about what else must be true about them, they're right there in front of you. How about you ask them and let them tell you themselves how they came about it, why they think the way they think, and who they are as a person. Don't assume you know, because you don't know. And y'all know what they say about assumptions. When you assume, you make an ass of you and me. So make sure you're not making too many assumptions. I told you in math class number 1351, do not assume anything. Again, that's 1351. Do not assume anything. Ask questions of another person, open-ended questions, in a way that you actually want to learn, not that you're trying to accuse them or you're trying to corner them. Then sit back and watch the show, because they will put on one. Everyone will put on the show if you ask them the right questions about the right opinions. Point number 3. Today's topic is how to disagree respectfully. Now, you might be wondering, well, Dre, when do we get to the actual disagreement part? Because you're giving us this background and telling us these things, and you haven't told us anything about how to actually express our disagreement and do it respectfully. Well, that's why we get into it right now. That's when we get to it. Point number 3. Offer how you see things and offer why you see things that way, because you already got that from another person, right? They told you how they see things, and you asked questions such as how and why. How did you get to that conclusion? Why do you see things that way? You asked a bunch of these how and why questions, so that person has expressed to you where they stand and why they stand there, right? Now it's your turn. Offer where you stand and why you stand there, and then ask more questions. And here's how you ask those questions, because you already asked them a bunch of questions, right? Here's what you do. For example, you say, hey, well, here's where I stand, and here's why I stand there. Tell me what you think about that. Tell me how you feel about my stance, since we seem to be on somewhat opposite ends of what's going on, or we came to completely different conclusions, even though we looked at the same pieces of information. Tell me what you think about where I'm at. And then you can say, if you have a disagreement, you can say, well, look, here's what I see about the situation. You said you saw this and this, and this is your reason. This is what I saw, and here's my reason. And then let them respond to it. Ask them, what do you think about that? Now, this all sounds really weird, doesn't it? It sounds very utopian society, kumbaya, doesn't it? The reason why it sounds so weird and so out there and so no way this would ever work, Dre, the reason why it sounds like that is because so few people ever use these tools. I mean, like ever. Have you ever talked to anyone who ever used a tool like this? If there was someone you talked to who used these tools, you probably remembered that person, and you can still recall them today, 5, 10, 20 years later, after that conversation occurred. Why? Because so few people use these tools. It doesn't sell your TV show or get you a lot of followers on social media to talk to people like this, because it's not emotional, it's not sensational, it's not sexy, there's no gotcha, there's no conflict. But you will have stronger relationships, your anxiety will be a lot lower, your blood pressure will be under control, you'll probably live longer, there'll be a whole lot less stress. And you'll get more positive energy from being on social media than what you currently get if you're going on there to tell people why they're wrong, attacking people, getting into comment wars with individuals. Y'all know what y'all do. All right. Now that you have both done this, explain where you're at and why you are there, you can each inform the other person about things that you've assumed to be true, but they may not be true. So you may have assumed some things about that other person when you noticed that there was a disagreement. But once you start asking open-ended questions and listening, you actually learn some things about their perspective that you never even considered. And you say, okay, now I get why this person thinks this way. Didn't change my mind, but I understand why that person thinks that way, and I can respect it now because I have some information I didn't have before. And they will think the same thing about you. But you will never get to this point if you open the conversation by telling somebody why they're wrong, by attacking another person, trying to ridicule another person, using any form of sarcasm with a person, any form of cognitive dissonance where you are taking the things that they say and flipping their words around and bastardizing their opinions, which in other words adds to what they said and make it sound worse, or taking it to its extreme. So for example, if a person says, look, I'm not paying that much attention to what other people are talking about because I'm mostly focused on myself, and you say, oh, well, that's too bad. It's too bad that you only care about you and you don't care about how anyone else does in life. That's the absurd absolute. You basically took what they said, bastardized it, took it to its furthest possible end, and added sarcasm. That is not what the person said. And when you do that, it may feel really good in the moment to say it. I'm sure it will feel great in the moment to say that. The problem is, in the long run, that wins you nothing, it earns you nothing, and you probably burn that conversational bridge with that person, maybe forever. So did you really win in the long run? Again, we talked about second and third order consequences. Just a couple days ago, we were talking about those consequences that you need to consider when it comes to doing what feels good, sarcasm, snark, trying to laugh at somebody on social media versus what actually works. Building long-term relationships, establishing rapport, learning new things from people who have different perspectives from you. Those things pay you off a lot more in the long run than the sarcasm and the snarkiness. But the sarcasm and the snarkiness feels the best in the moment. So do you have the discipline to employ it? Levels of consequences in masterclass number 1306. 1306, understanding the levels of consequences. So again, the first level of consequence is the immediate result of your action. Second and third level consequences are what happens after that action and after the action. And those are the things you really need to think about, because the more successful a person is, the further their time perspective is. I talked about time perspective in masterclass number 777, how your time perspective determines your success. The more successful the person, the further out into the future they project their actions. The more successful the person, the further out into the future they project their actions. Unsuccessful people only think about the immediate results. Highly successful people always think about the further, long-term, second, third, fourth, and 20th order consequences of the actions that they take. If you haven't been thinking like that, you need to start thinking like that right now. This is how you learn through other people. Considering the second order consequences, asking questions, not making assumptions, not attacking, no snark, no sarcasm, Scott Adams wrote a book called Loser Think. If you want to learn how to ruin relationships and alienate people with bad conversational tools, read the book Loser Think. Scott Adams will point out all the things that people do that all the things people do cognitively, thinking wise, that usually leads to them speaking, that ruins their relations and ruins rapport with other people, and he'll tell you how to fix them. Again, that book is called Loser Think by Scott Adams. Let's recap today's topic, which is how to disagree respectfully. Since there are so many opinions out there these days, and there will only be more because everybody has them, we got racial unrest, global pandemics, we got an election coming up. There's a lot going on, and everybody has something to say. So depending on how much time you spend on social media, you have seen, probably been involved in plenty of disagreement. Today I'm going to tell you how to do so respectfully while allowing your counterparts and yourself to save face. Is that a novel concept? I think so. Point number one, do not put people on the defensive. When you put people on the defensive, they play defense. They will attack you. They will turn the tables on you. What makes people defensive is accusing, attacking, telling people that they're wrong, not respecting how somebody feels. Don't do those things. Point number two, ask more questions than you make assumptions. Every time you're thinking about making an assumption about a person, instead ask them a question. Let me say that one more time. Every time you're thinking of making an assumption about a person, or you catch that you did, ask them a question instead of making an assumption. You probably will find that your assumption is incorrect. And even when your assumptions are correct, that doesn't mean you should keep assuming. It means you should keep asking questions. Verify your assumptions. When someone offers a perspective that you either do not understand or do not agree with, ask questions. If you want to build rapport with another person, ask questions. How questions and why questions. The great thing about questions is that people will always share as many of their opinions as you are willing to listen to. Point number three. So the disagreement part. Offer how you see things and offer why you see things that way. Then ask questions. Ask them what they think about your perspective. Tell them what you see and ask them how they feel about it. It sounds very weird to even talk like this. It's because so few people use these tools ever, but it's not because they don't work. It's because so many humans are emotionally driven and they're only thinking about the instant gratification of their actions and not the long-term ramifications. But that's why you are listening to a show called Work on Your Game, so I can help inform you and put you on, school you to these things that will help you more in the long run than what you may have seen from some of our quote leaders, close quote, in the secular world. All right. And it doesn't sell your TV show to talk like this. It's not sexy. It is not going to draw ratings. But now that you and other people have done this, you can each inform each other about things that you have assumed to be true. And this will make you a more rational, a more logical, and a more valuable person, because you will be expanding your base of connections, expanding your base of contacts, expanding your base of knowledge and information and of personal experience, all of which makes you a more valuable individual, which is all about working on your game. Dre all day.